God bless you all, and God bless America.
Destiny's Child traded in their old lady R&B for what was coming beyond a new horizon. A new horizon that brought in a fresh new take on R&B, pushing R&B to a futuristic style, a style that we reference in years to come. Writings on the Wall sold over 8 million copies and was a commercial success. Destiny's Child finally made it and became America's new it group. But it wasn't all smooth sailings for the girls. Although DC was bathing in the rays of their success, they did have to face some turmoil tension. Matthew Knowles took over as manager, and as a result, Destiny's Child had to say goodbye to 2 founding members of the group, LaToya and Lativia. Although Writings on the Wall was a fresh new take on female empowerment, it did leave some men feeling like it was raining on their egos. But as we come to learn, Destiny's Child does not let anything stop them, and they begin to make their next studio album. My name is Cayman, and this is My Beyonce Experience. Before Destiny's Child can make their next studio album, they do need to get some affairs in order. Once again, the group makes a detour with one of their members, leaving behind extra baggage that is no longer needed. They went from 4 to now 3. The new member shakeup did strike controversy amongst the blogs. Haters thought this was a leak in the boat, striking rumors that the girls cannot survive another member change. On May 2001, the newly trio responded to all the negativity by dropping their next studio album, Survivor. Survivor was a fitting title, letting these pigeon-head seagulls know, rain or shine, these girls can weather any storm. Together, they can survive anything. However, to the fans, Survivor meant much more. It was an echo, a continuation of Writing on the Walls. Songs like Independent Woman Part 1 continue to celebrate women's independence. Keep your head held high, pay these mama boys no mind, and buy your own shit and leave them behind. I made that all up. I know it rhymes too. I'm talented. It was such an anthem that it served as a theme song for the new blockbuster movie, Charlie's Angels. And you can't forget about Bootylicious. In a time where thin was in, surviving off of cigs and cotton balls dripped in orange juice, Bootylicious was a song that embraced your curves and swerves. If you're a captain of your ship, you better learn how to ride these waves. Bootylicious walked so Anaconda can run. I got a big fat ass. Destiny's Child wanted to do something different and push the boundaries of a girl group by blending 3 personalities into one album. Taking a step back, Beyonce and Kelly became the lead singers in the group, tackling both the first and second verse. Michelle was tasked to sing the chorus and other needed parts to complete the song. Destiny's Child highlighted their unique styles by experimenting with R&B, pop, and gospel-infused sounds, taking inspirations from Stevie Nicks, Bee Gees, and even classic gospel hymns. The girls, or should I say Beyonce, produced songs like Emotions, Jesus Love, and Gospel Medley. Alright, this is my Survivor story. Now, if you're new here, my name is Cayman. I'm doing a Beyonce series called My Beyonce Experience, and basically, I'm making a video for every Beyonce album. See, I've been listening to Beyonce since I was 5, so she's practically been in my life this entire time. So I decided to have like a fun passion project to encapsulate the time of that album. But I also wanted to be something personal for me. What was Cayman doing during that time? Who was he? And any stories that he has to share. Like Writings on the Wall. A lot of my memories of Writings on the Wall was playing dress up in my sister's clothing and having car concerts with my sister. Like I said, Beyonce has been in my life since I was 5, so each album is kind of like a timestamp of my life. So as I give a history lesson of what was going on during that album, I kind of also want to do a timestamp of where I was at in my life. So I might share some stories or might share some memories that will probably correspond or maybe not correspond with the album. But that's kind of what we're doing here, and just give you a recap just in case you just randomly pick this up. So let's get into my Survivor story. Now, this is my Survivor story. Now, I don't know if this is a Survivor story And my definition of a survivor story, it's kind of like something unexpectedly bad happened to you that you have to overcome. And through overcoming, you have this heroic story. Now, I don't know if this story that I'm about to share with you can be classified as a survivor story, but in my defense, I survived something. And it's probably the Mount Rushmore of biggest survivals that I ever had. In your defense, everything that I did was self-inflicted. So is it really a survivor story? To me, yes, bitch. Because you didn't have to survive what I'm about to tell you. I did. So if I want to call it a survivor story, I'm going to call it a fucking goddamn survivor story. So let me tell you the story and you tell me if this is a survivor story. All right, so it is St. Patrick's Day 2001. I'm in the first grade. Now, both of my parents worked. And they always had to get to work early. And for some schools, they allow early drop off. And my parents took advantage of that and dropped me off early. And anytime there's kids that get dropped off early, the school holds them in the cafeteria until it's time to like let them go so they can go to their class. Well, it was St. Patrick's Day. And in the little hallways, I can see these little green footsteps. That's basically making a leprechaun scavenger hunt. So this scavenger hunt kind of led into multiple rooms where there's checkpoints and puzzles that you had to find and complete before you move on to the next one. And then at the end, there was a pot of gold. Well, I was one of the first kids there, and I noticed that none of the kids kind of seemed like they cared about the scavenger hunt. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this scavenger hunt by myself. And I did. And I pretended I was Indiana Jones himself. Now, I've never necessarily seen an Indiana Jones movie, but I don't think you need to see one to understand what it is. Bitch, you couldn't tell me anything. I was getting caught in quicksand. I was dodging poison ivy bugs. I was running from the bad guys. I had my little sexy boy on my arm that I saved. He almost fell off the cliff. I grabbed him with my giant biceps. I held him in my arms. We made out under the trees. Like, I was just living my fucking fantasy. So, at the end, like I said, the scavenger hunt led through multiple rooms, but at the very end, the last hurrah, the last checkpoint was the principal's office. So I busted through the doors and I'm like, I'm here to claim my prize, and I had my sexy boy on my arm. I'm like, bitch, where is it? And the principal looked up from her paper. She said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. See, there was another kid that came before you and played the game and already claimed the prize. Sorry, you're just a little bit too late. I was like, bitch, what? First of all, what do you mean another kid came and claimed the prize? How? I'm one of 10 kids here. Do you have another kid? Are you hiding a kid somewhere in your closet? Was there ever a pot of gold? How? First of all, you look like you were too busy to even notice there was a kid here. Do you even know if you put the gold in here? If there was a kid that already took the pot of gold, why did I not see him play with it in the cafeteria? Why was there not any crusty crust of chocolates in the crust of his lips? Huh, bitch? Second of all, you're telling me I did all that for nothing? I went through booby traps, quicksand, got bit by poisonous bugs, concussion. I ran from the enemies. I saved my boyfriend from getting. Even though I know I'm going to trade him up in the next movie for a tighter ass, that's neither here or there. Bitch, what needs to be here and now is my pot of gold. Where is it? I was just dumbfounded and just overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with emotions and I started to cry. Yes, I started to cry. And it wasn't just tears and little hoo-hoo sad. It was a weeping, hysterical cry. As if I lost my boyfriend right there in my arms and I couldn't have saved him. So the principal got up from her desk and she was like, oh my God, like, why are you crying? And I didn't have an answer. I knew at that time that my cry, the reaction that I gave based off of not finding the candy didn't add up. This is also coming from someone who just pretended that he saved the boy from being buried or killed by the enemy. So for me to come up with this performance of a cry isn't really that surprising, but it was surprising for me because I couldn't figure out why I was crying this hard. And so when the teacher asked me what was wrong, I was panicking. What can I say that justifies this type of cry? What can I say that makes this type of cry make sense? So when my principal asked me, Cayman, what is wrong? Why are you crying? I had to find an excuse to justify this. So the excuse that I came up with to justify why I was crying that hard was that my mom died. Yes, bitch. I know. I know. And you're probably asking, like, why? Like, what made you, of all the lies that have been told by man, you said that your mom died. You could have said anything else. You could have said that your turtle died, but you said your mom died. To this day, I still don't know why I said my mom died, but let's just continue the story. The principal was obviously concerned. First of all, I just gave her an Oscar award-winning performance. Second, a first grader told her that his mom died and is hysterically crying in her office. So she told the assistant principal or someone, and they went to go get me snacks, and she told me that I was able to sit in her office until I was ready to go to class. So I sat there and ate my goldfish and drank my cranberry juice, and I dabbed my mouth and said, "Bon appetit, thank you so much." And I decided to leave to go to class. The principal asked her if there was anything that she can do, if there was anyone that she can call. She said, "Can I call your father?" I said, "Bitch, hold up. Hold the phone, Becky. Call my dad? Why would you do that?" Girl, I thought this was a key between me and you. I ate my goldfish, I drank my juice, I gave you a performance, now I'm ready to go back to class. What's happening now that you need to bring my father into this? This was a joke, right? Haha, Hannah, haha, we're joking, haha. I'm not actually gay, I don't fantasize about saving boys. This was all just part of my fantasy. I'm delusional, I'm crazy. I thought you understood that this cry was just an act. Everything's act, I'm just acting. Like this was a performance, I thought you got that. We don't need to involve my dad. So this part, even to this day, I should tell my therapist this story because I want to know what this says about me. But to this day, I remember exactly what I said. There's a couple things I remember exactly, and this is one of them. When she asked me when she asked me if we should call my father, I said no. I said, "No, please don't call my dad because he's also grieving the loss of his wife, and another phone call just wouldn't help him out." Yes, I can hear Black parents right now waiting to whoop my ass. Girl, it's coming. I promise you at the end of the story, it's fucking coming. So as I gave another stellar exit line, she said okay, and sent me off to class. And the teacher in the class was waiting for me with their thoughts and their prayers. I went on with my day. I thought everything was peaches and cream. And then all of a sudden, the phone rang. And my teacher went up to the phone and picked up the phone. And then my teacher looked at me and I looked at him, and he looked at me looking at him, and I looked at him looking at me. And he said, "Mr. Stowe, they would like to see you in the principal's office." And I said, "Who is they? Who's they? Who can they be?" So when I went to the principal's office, guess who they was? Now, if you're guessing it's my mom, great guess. But it was my dad. Bitch, let me fucking tell you, if I didn't have testicles at that moment, my testicles dropped at that moment. Girl, I felt them ploop, ploop, right into my sack. My heart fell out of my chest. My heart went on its own scavenger hunt. It said, "Bitch, you do not need me anymore." Bye, girl. I'll see you on the flip side. I knew I was in trouble. I knew Becky ratted me out. I knew there was no need for me to say another word because I'm just gonna dig myself into the grave. So I hung my head and I walked to the car. Now, I don't really remember much of the car ride, but here's what I will tell you about my dad. My dad is kind of like me. Anything that we're doing in our own, so if he's cooking by himself, baking by himself, doing dishes or cutting grass, fixing his bike, washing his car, reading the Bible, there's always music playing. He always has music in his ears, or he always has music with him. So if we're driving in the car, there's always music playing. It's one of the first things he does is he clicks himself in and then he turns the radio on. But the only time he does not play music in the car is when I'm about to get an ass whooping. Girl, I've never heard a scarier silence than a silence before an ass whooping. It is so silent, I can hear a bird shit. It is so silent, I can hear the gas evaporate out that car. As soon as we get home and that door locks, get your fucking ass in that goddamn bedroom. just hella yelling a storm. And of course, I go to my room. Now, my dad asked me the same question you guys are probably wondering or have in your mind while watching this video. What made you say that your mom died? And to this day, I don't know. I don't know. And I will tell you what I told my dad, and I'll tell you what I tell everyone when I tell this story. Something came over me. Something came over me. Something told me that just say your mom died. That makes perfect sense. And so I did. And you want to know what my dad said after he picked his favorite belt before he whipped me like 12 years a slave? He said, son, I'm sorry to tell you this, but something's going to come over me right now. And proceeded to give me one of the worst ass whippings I ever had in my entire life. Honestly, probably like Mount Rushmore of ass whippings. And that's saying a lot. And so I believe that I survived one of the Mount Rushmore of ass whippings. That's a survivor story. If you think that's not a survivor story, then I don't give a fuck. That's a survivor story. So I did have to apologize to my mom, and she was more confused than she was hurt, which helped me out a lot, you know. I didn't really hurt my mom's feelings. She just was a lot confused. But I did hurt my dad's feeling. He doesn't play that. You know, he lost his mom at a very young age. So he doesn't play those games. And he, you know, both of my parents grew up in a time where you respect your elders. So this whole like saying that they're dead, my parents don't fuck with that. Yeah, my parents don't fuck with that. So I apologized to my mom, and you know, I think I remember having like, I don't know if I had to apologize to the class, but I remember my teacher being like, so your mom isn't dead? And I was like, no. So crazy. That's my survivor story. Okay, let me talk about I like to talk about my thoughts of the album as well. Honestly, out of the 3 albums that I have reviewed, this one, Survivor, the last one, Writings on the Wall, and then self-titled Destiny's Child, this is number 3. This was really kind of horrible. And I hate saying that because I love Beyonce, but this is an L for Beyonce. For me personally, this is an L for Destiny's Child. Now, before I do any of these videos, I like to listen to these albums before I do any research on what articles said or whatever people say about the albums. I like to go through the album myself and like write down my thoughts and my feelings first. And I definitely had a feeling like this album felt like it was cramming so much into one album. It felt like a grab bag. Out of the 18 songs, I think I only liked the first 5. The first 5 really felt like this was the beginning of an album, and they probably either run out of money or time and kind of just rush something through. I don't know, it felt like there was no focus. It felt like there was no center point. It felt like it didn't feel cohesive. It just felt like a bunch of random shit, and I just didn't vibe with it. This was also a time in my life, like I said, I was in the 1st grade, so I was really just watching MTV music videos, TRL, 106 in Park. So I wasn't really consuming albums like I do now. And at that time, I think music was consumed by just singles and music videos. So it wasn't necessarily maybe collections of albums. Maybe, I don't know. But all I do know is this album was not my favorite. It felt discombobulated. It felt rushed. It didn't feel cohesive. It felt weird coming off of Writings on the Wall, which had a theme, you know, Destiny's Child, self-titled, kind of had a theme. This one just kind of felt like it was just like, we're just throwing this out there just to throw this out there. Now, here's what I will say though. Recently, I was at a gay bar with my friends, and Bootylicious came on, and we kind of just sat back and was at awe with how far Beyonce has come and the impact that Destiny's Child still has to this day. And it kind of made me, although I said I hate this album, Bootylicious and music video kind of just really made me appreciate the quality of music that we got at that time. Now, I don't know, me and my friends are at that age where we don't know if music is getting shit or we're just getting older. Because I remember when like Kendrick Lamar was coming up and Drake was coming up and J. Cole was coming up, a lot of people were saying like we don't have any rappers. And now those 3 are still rappers that are talked about in this decade. So I can't tell if music has lost its oomph. I feel like nowadays artists just do what I call the Drake effect or the McDonald's effect. They find that formula that works and they just ride it out. I don't feel like anyone's taking chances with music or trying anything new. I feel like everything is just a copy and paste and pushed out there. It's just kind of like a same pig but different lipstick. It just feels like nothing is creative. Nothing is experimental. it does. I think that's a good way to put it. It feels like music industry is on eggshells, and they rather do something that they know that works than to put time and effort in something to create something quality that may not be appreciated. And so watching Bootylicious and really like think about it, like the girl who made Bootylicious would be the woman who's going to make American Requiem. That's crazy. That is crazy. And so it just really puts into perspective like how far Beyonce will go from Destiny's Child and Bootylicious, the different versions Beyonce will become, the different art she's going to make. Like it really shows how experimental Beyonce was. Even in the very beginning when she had Bootylicious, sampling Stevie Nicks, or in Destiny's Child self-titled, having blues and country influence, or writing on the walls, structuring it like a story of 10 Commandments, like really being creative and stepping out the box. So I guess like I just want to say, like, even though I didn't like the album, that time of music really made me appreciate what I had at that time. I also want to say this, I'm not afraid to say this because I'm not afraid to be wrong, but I want to apologize to Kelly, although she's never going to listen to this. But I really fucking dogged Kelly. Like, I didn't dog her as much as I did Michelle. No, I'm joking, I love Michelle. But I didn't like Kelly's brand. I didn't like what Kelly was providing as an image. I didn't care. Not that I don't want to say that I care that she was skinny, but really what I didn't like was she came off as that tomboy kind of girl. She had the pixie cut with the blue stripes, or a bob with the blue stripes. She had a pixie cut with the red stripes. I didn't like the tomboy image. I just thought it wasn't feminine. I thought it was weird. And I know that's saying a lot from someone like me. Bitch, I know it's saying a lot for someone like me. But at that time in the first grade, I was like, what is this? Like, I don't like this. Once again, when I watched that music video in the gay bar, I appreciate what Kelly was doing. Nowadays, women are expressing their femininity in all shapes and sizes. Men are expressing their masculinity in all shapes and sizes. There's theys, thems, and these, those, and he's, she's, and hi, theys, and whatever it may be in between. Everyone is expressing themselves differently. So I appreciate and I respect Kelly for giving another opportunity, I guess an opportunity for women to see themselves different than the conventional standard of beauty. She was skinny, she was a tomboy, she had short hair. Like, that's not the convention style of beauty. And so she was stepping out that box and giving us a different option. And I really, just like I said, I appreciate that music video, and just remembering that time of music really made me appreciate those girls, what they were doing and what they were going through, and the images that they were trying to portray for being a positive role model for all girls in all shapes and sizes. So I just wanted to say that for my personal gain, I guess, that, hey, Kelly, I used to think you were like an ugly ass tomboy. Now I see what you were doing. Now I understand and I appreciate what you were doing. So that's it. All right, lastly, let's get to some of the questions that I'll ask Beyonce. Every video I do this and I kind of like it. I think what I really want to know is, what was it like to go solo? You've always been in a girl group since you were young. So what was it like to go solo? Whose idea was it for you to go solo? Was it your idea? Was it your dad's idea, your manager's idea, or was it the record label's idea? Like, who had the most say in you going solo? Now, I know that she likes, she admires people like, Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, and both of them went solo. So was it always the plan for you to go solo? Also, I guess, if we know Beyonce, she's a woman that's not afraid to step out of the box. She's a woman that's not afraid to bet on herself. She's a woman that's not afraid to take chances. So maybe going solo is just who she was going to be anyway. But I wonder if this fearless, I'm going to do what I want to do, Beyonce, came throughout time. So maybe when she was in that era of Survivor going to Dangerously in Love, maybe she wasn't as fearless. Maybe she didn't trust herself as much. So that's what I want to ask too. Like, did you trust yourself when you were going to be a solo artist? Or did you just give it up to your managers and give it up to faith? And if you did trust yourself, what was that conversation like to find the Beyonce brand? Because once again, when you're in a girl group, you kind of have to not distance yourself, but make sure your solo career stands alone in its own lane and its own brand. So I kind of want to know, like, what was the idea and marketing conversations and brand meeting conversations to solidify you and shape you as a solo artist and no longer the lead girl of a girl group? So those are kind of the questions I want to know. Like, what was it like being solo? What was the thought process? Did you like it? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you happy? Are you the one who brought it to the table? Yeah, that's kind of, those are the questions I would ask Beyonce if I had a chance. Well, those are my thoughts. Those are my questions. Those are my stories. That's my opinion on things. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, that's okay. And let's finish and wrap off this video. Survivor was certified 5 times platinum. With the album drop, Beyonce had songwriting credits on most of the tracks, and once again, leaving members feeling slighted. Beyonce was the Zendaya of her time, not only killing it in music, but also fashion, commercials, and even movies. Rumors were still holding strong that there was a leak in the boat. Some critics say that this wasn't Destiny's Child's best album. Some will say this album continued the conversation on female empowerment. But to me, it seemed like this album was an opportunity for the girls to find their own voice. They had their own journey and their own trajectory in life. This album was to flex the musical muscle and to see if they can survive in the music industry on their own. Although the album was an attempt to give everyone a chance to stand out, the group was feeling kind of cramped and needed space to spread their wings. Shortly after, the girls took a long-needed hiatus to focus on everyone's individual talents. But it was rumored that Beyonce already had a head start. But can she hop ship to make it as a solo artist, or is she going to crash out and wash up like everybody else?